You just heard this PRS Fiore into a Princeton Tone Master. Clean. Sounds great. It's a cool amp. Sounds wonderful. Now what we need to do is we need to add some overdrive to it. The way I like to use an overdrive, my favorite way, is to basically take this amp, any low wattage amp really, and just put it kind of on the edge like that where it's not all the way clean, especially if you put a humbucker into it, but it's pretty clean. I like it like that. And then I like to push it with something like a tube screamer. There's bajillions of tube screamers out there. Today we're going to talk about the Halcyon by Origin Effects. This is a tube screamer-ish 808, really, an 808 type of circuit. But there's some stuff in here that I've never seen before in an 808 because I don't think it's ever been done. And it's going to fix some problems that we normally have on a TS type of circuit. This, with kind of all the knobs straight up in normal 808 sound, is what this thing sounds like, and I think it sounds great. Which is awesome. It sounds fantastic. So, what if we want to clean up a little bit though? On our channel, a lot of times we talk about having really good pickups, which these Fiore pickups really are really good, into a low wattage amp with not a lot of effects, and then a really good pickup will make it to where you can kind of lower the volume down to, like, let's say 7 on the pot and clean it up a little bit. So here's our all wide open, turn it down a little bit. So it's not all the way clean, but it's pretty clean. Here's the problem that happens though. The way a pot works in a guitar, the lower you lower it to 1, not only does it change the resistance and turns it all the way off, shuts it all the way off, acts as a gate. The other thing that happens when you lower a pot in a guitar is the frequency response changes, because as the resistance gets closer to 0, the pot gets closer to 0 and the volume is off, the available frequencies that can then go through that pot, that voltage divider, change. So the guitar changes in sound. That's why a lot of people will use like a volume mod, for example. What they've done with this Halcyon is something I've never ever seen before. And basically what they've done is they put an adaptive circuit in here to boost the signal that kind of starts to go away as you lower the volume. Now the interesting thing is that as it gets thinner and as some of the body starts to go away as the volume knob drops, this puts it back in. But the thing is that different pot values, like a 250K pot or a 500K pot, and different pickups, low output, high output, humbucker, single coil, will do this differently and interact with the pots differently and cause this problem differently. So what this thing has done is given us 2 different levels of that adaptive circuitry. So here's what it sounds like. So this is our wide open circuit. Okay, now let's turn this thing down to 7. Now we've not changed anything else. We've not changed the amp. All we've done is we've turned the volume on the guitar down to 7. Feel that bottom end? There's a little clarity there. The bottom end's filled out. The mid-range is nice and strong. Those are the things that start to go away as you turn the volume down. It has a little bit of an effect on the signal at 10, but not a lot. I think you could adjust around it with some of the other parameters on the pedal, which we'll get to in a minute, so that you have this kind of adjustability to where you can just use the knob on your guitar. Now, like I said, there's those different levels so that you can adjust to the type of pickup, so that you can adjust to the type of, you know, all the other settings that you have to make this volume pot versus pickup thing kind of taking it to the next level, which I really think is neat. It's almost like an adaptive volume mod on your guitar. It's an adaptive, you know, people put the volume mod. This guitar actually has one. Put it on your volume so that it evens out those frequencies a little bit more. But I don't normally like those because it makes them a little thinner, where makes the signal a little thinner, where this kind of adapts better as you play, also adapts to the different kinds of guitars that you use to do this. So it's not like a one type setting, it's a little more adjustable. To me, it's like an adjustable volume mod, which is really, really neat. You can have it on, medium, or large, which I think is very, very cool. Okay, we're gonna look at a couple of other settings in this pedal that I think you are gonna find very interesting. Sometimes with a TS type circuit or a lot of overdrives, humbuckers can sort of get a little darker. And so they've got a mod switch on here that's going to give you a little bit more presence. So when you're using a humbucker style guitar or something with a little bit darker pickups in it, flip this mod thing. Gives it a little bit of brightness, a little bit of presence, and depending on the pickup, especially with higher gain pickups or with lower tunings or baritone, for example, this will give you a little bit of that clarity on top that sometimes you lose when you use an overdrive pedal. Some of that stuff kind of gets squished with the compression, and it kind of deadens it a little bit, so it's going to bring that back for you a little bit, which I really think is cool. Another thing that's very cool on this pedal that I've never seen before is a dry mix knob. So what that means is when the knob is all the way down, we've got just the signal from the pedal from the amp. Now, let's go ahead and crank this all the way up, and you're going to hear more dry signal from the guitar mixed in with the pedal. Now you can use it any which way, so here's a little bit in the middle. Which I think is really neat, because if you're trying to clean up your signal with your pedal, maybe you can mix a little bit more of that clean, unaffected guitar in there, and you can really play with how you use this thing. It's such an incredible thing. I've never seen anything like this. The circuitry in this adaptive circuitry thing is really, really cool. Okay, so let's get nerdy for just a second. Anytime you use an overdrive pedal on a guitar, basically all you're doing is you're manipulating voltages. That's really all you're doing, because you're making electricity with the guitar, right? So the pedal makes it make more. That's basically what it does, but it also changes the shape of that electricity, which changes the shape of your tone. And so there are certain things that are just science. What happens to electricity when you boost it? And it messes with it. It pushes it around. which makes your guitar sound different. And sometimes there's just no way around that. Sometimes, like we talked about, when you turn your volume down, because of the way electricity works, it just changes the shape. So how do we compensate for that? Well, we do all kinds of other things. We do, EQs, and we do all kinds of other. It's almost like we cause a problem. We make something sound better, but then we cause a problem in another area, and then everything is kind of a compromise, right? Like, then you have to fix this problem. Like, that's kind of like what volume mods are to me. They're like, well, when you turn the volume down, then it changes the sound a little bit, but I want that back. I want it to sound a little different, so I put this thing in here to fix that problem, and then it sounds a little too tinny when you go too far down, and then, you know what I mean? Like, everything is a compromise in such a simple electronic device. And so what they've done in this thing is kind of gone above and beyond anything I've ever seen before in a pedal that you can just put on your pedal board in this big of a box. Now, of course, campers and all kinds of stuff, they do all kinds of things. But this right here is very interesting. So to be able to replace some frequencies that you lose with the adaptive circuitry, to be able to have the adjustability for all different circumstances, using humbuckers, using single coils, using 500K pots, using 250K pots. We might not think that all of those little frequency response problems can happen with all those different combination of parts, but they do because of the physics of electricity. So now this is actually fixing that, or it's giving us more adjustability in that department, which we've never really had before, which I think is very, very cool. Couple that with this dry knob, which gives you dry guitar signal over top of the affected signal, which is really, really cool. So now you can use a low wattage amp, you can decide how clean you want it, you can decide how dirty you want it, and really tweak this. This is like almost like a pedal, a TS-808-ish thing for guitar nerds, right? Like, it's just where that other earlier ones were kind of a simple hammer. This thing is a lot more adjustable and very, you can get very finite and granular with your adjustments, which I think is really neat. Gives you more versatility with more amps, more guitars, more pickups, and I really, really like it. It took me, I would say, 2 weeks. Now I've had this 2 or 3 weeks. When I first plugged it in, I was twiddling knobs and I was like, it does stuff, but it doesn't really, when you turn the knob, it just doesn't like really do something. I was using it wrong. I was not realizing how finite you can get with these adjustments and make things more useful. And that's what I really, really like about it. I'm really into this thing. I think it's very cool. This video is not sponsored. They did not sponsor me or pay me to say any of this stuff. Actually, they didn't even tell me how to use it. That's why I was telling you wrong. I had to watch somebody else's video to learn how to do it. They did send me the pedal to review, so there is that. But it's really cool. I think it's awesome. There will be a link to it in the description. If you have any questions about this pedal, get in the comments. I'll try to give you as much input as I can, maybe during our live stream on Tuesday. What a cool thing. The Halcyon Green Overdrive. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you go and get one. I hope you subscribe and like, because we have more of this review/nerdy content to help you really understand why the things do what they do and how good they really are. Thanks for hanging out. My name is Dylan. This has been Dylan Talks Tone. Check out our other live streams this week, news on Wednesday, all this stuff. We'll see you soon.